So, Jill, you mentioned a term that I don't think everybody watching is familiar with, and that's the Akashic Records. So, will you explain from your vantage point what it is and how that works for us?
The non-physical side of life has many vibrational levels, as you might say, and I ride them like I explore them like I'm on an elevator. The lower level energy to the higher level energies, and the Akashic records are on the fourth level of this energy thing, and it's the same level that you go to after you die for learning, for processing, for the life reviews. The Akashic records it's the Akashic, from my understanding, is like a giant university, and there are classes going on and lectures, and it's just a teeming vibration of people coming and going from every walk of life, every time period on the planet. I have had classes in the Parthenon and the Akashic level. It's just an amazing place. And the Akashic library is a library, and it's all vibration. You can use physical descriptions to kind of begin to relate to it and understand it, but it's all vibrations, and they coalesce into what seems to be a big grand library full of books. And we each have our own hall of records and our own book of life.
My guest today is Jill James, who had a near death experience. And when she came into this earthly life, she had some special abilities that she had lost along the way, but they came back after her near death experience. And I'm excited to talk to her about that. So, Jill, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you because every near death experience is different from the others, and yours is no exception. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your life was like before you had this experience?
Okay. Before this experience, the experience happened. The experience happened when I was in my mid 20s, early 20s. Before that, in my toddler years, my youngest years, I had the ability to see clairvoyantly, hear clairaudiently. I astral traveled. I had out of body experiences. But then when you go to school, they drum all that out of you. It's not acceptable to talk about. Plus, my family was very Christian, very conservative, and they didn't like that I could do things and new things. They just didn't have any part of that. And this created quite a dichotomy within me. And I became a very angry, rebellious teenager and lost all my ability. There was I had no teaching, no training, no support. And it was all, I just put it all aside because all I got from it was trouble.
Oh
I got
boy.
punished, one minute I'm a party trick and the next minute I'm being punished. Very
Mm.
confusing. And it didn't help my adolescence whatsoever. So, rebellious teenager, left home, hitchhiked around the country, got a car, picked up a hitchhiker, took him home, kept him a few years, made some babies. And well, all this is leading up to where their death happened because, um, of course, that didn't work out. And I ended up at my grandparents' house in Southwest Virginia. So now, where am I? Well, 21, 22, 22. So the near death experience was precipitated by a kidney stone failure of my kidneys that caused uremic coma. So the morning of this situation, I was fine. My grandparents were still working, they hadn't retired. They would leave me home alone with my two kids. And as soon as they left the house one morning, there was a big snowstorm, a lot of snow, a lot of accidents, a lot of confusion when I couldn't find anybody to reach. But I suddenly just, all of a sudden, just felt myself going down a slope and I couldn't get back up. I felt like I was just sliding down a slope. And I couldn't reach anybody. And I was in the fetal position on the couch, and I've got a 2 and 3 year old with me, and you just can't leave them with a coal stove hot burning. You can't leave toddlers running around loose all day. And I said, guys, I don't know what we're doing here, but it's not a good day to die. I can't do this today. Can we reschedule this for tomorrow? I don't know where I got that notion. That was an option. But I heard a voice beside me. Now I'm out of body because I was completely passed out. I was out of body. And a voice next to me said, come and see. And I took his hand and we went down the hallway. And in front of the door of the kids' bedroom where they were at, there was a big, huge light that just encompassed the whole doorway. And when we got past that light, my kids were on the floor playing with these men. They look like men in white robes. And I was like, oh, well, they're fine. Let's go. I'm done. I just knew they were okay. And sure enough, we started drifting out above the house, through the ceiling, the roof, and out above the house. And the snow was a blanket of pure white, glistening. I remember seeing that so clearly. And I noticed then when I was looking down at the house that I had a cord from my umbilical going back down to my body. And I had no idea what this was at the time. And he explained to me that was my silver cord. And I would be back because the silver cord was not broken. But I had to go away for a little while. So I looked down again from a very high distance. But when I looked down into the house, it was like I'm standing in the room of the house. And the kids were still right there playing. They were just fine. And I said, okay, let's go. And that's my last recall of the near death itself. My next recall was when my grandparents came home from work 8 hours later, found me in a fetal position on the couch, stiff and cold. They thought I was dead. Their next thought was the kids. And they ran into the bedroom where the kids still were. And they were fine. They said there was no sign of them having left that bedroom. And in fact, all the clocks stopped their time at the time I passed out. So all the clocks in the house, battery, electric, they all stopped. And she said she had the feeling that time had stopped when she went in the bedroom because the kids were right where she left them, right where I left them. And grandma said that there was no sign that they had left the bedroom. Their diapers weren't wet. They weren't hungry. There was no mess everywhere like you'd expect a couple 2-year-olds to be doing. And so their next thought was to get me to the hospital. And I remember coming to once or twice when we hit the gravels, some bumps in the road. But my next recall was when I came to in a janitor's closet in the hospital because of the snowstorm and all the accidents and everything. There was nowhere to put me when they got me to the hospital. They shoved me they put me on a gurney and stuffed me in the janitor closet to get me out of the hallway. And so I wake up in this janitor closet and I look around and I think, well, this is great. I've died and gone to hell, and now I've got to clean toilets and scrub houses for the rest of eternity. This is not what I bargained on. But Jesus was standing there. And he said, no, you're not gone to hell, clean the bathrooms. And he said, what can I do for you? And I said, you're the good Lord Almighty. I would think you would know the answer to that question. And I said, I'm hurting. And he said, okay. And he put his hand on my back and it covered one hand. It felt like it covered my whole back from the spine, my neck down to my tailbone. And I felt liquid gold going from his hand into my body, all through my urinary tract, everywhere there were stones and infection. And the pain went away. as the light moved through my body. The pain went away. And I thought, well, that's much better. Um, and then they got me, and they started putting me through tests and things to see what to do with me. They came and got me. So I found out later a lot of things I didn't understand at the time. Like the main thing I took away from this was you have to ask for what you need, not what you want. I wanted the pain gone, but the pain was a very important part of my illness to let me know I was ill and what needed to be done. So healing the pain did not heal the illness. Does that make sense? I was still very, very sick. I was in and out of a coma for 3 weeks. If I had asked the good Lord to heal me, it would have taken care of the pain too, but I wouldn't have walked out of there much sooner. So I learned a very important lesson then. Pain is your friend, not your enemy. And I tell you, I had some kidney stone problems after that, and I never had another kidney stone pain. And they can be very painful, but I did not have any pain. So then I didn't know when my body was needing help. I didn't have my friend. You see what I mean? So that was very important for me to realize I need to ask for the right things. The answers are always there, but you have to ask the right questions, make the right requests to get the answer you really want. So that was one thing I learned from after the NDE was that I didn't really want to go back. I was in such a happy place. I don't recall where I went. I didn't see a light. I didn't have your typical um, tunnel vision or anything like that. I just had this very immense feeling of peace and calm, and I was not concerned about the children whatsoever. Which, as a mama bear, that's not typical for me. But it was a very profound and life altering experience. That was for sure.
Wow. All right. I want to go back to the place when you were in your home on the couch. You leave your body, and your first concern is that your children are going to be left alone while you go. And they
Right.
show you that the kids are on the floor playing. So your kids were young. They were only 2 and 3, but I do know that there are times when kids have memories. Do your children have any memory of what happened that day?
They're in their 40s now. Okay. Um, Immediately after the situation happened, Grandma asked the kids what they did while Mommy took a nap, kind of thing, and they said they played with the angels, which
They
is how,
knew that they were angels.
yes, they knew they were angels, and they would tell the angels good night for the longest time, and I never worried about them. There's a lot of mean, horrible things happen to little kids um, in this world, and moms are just we're just not enough protection. You know what I'm saying? Things happen that you can't plan for or prepare for. But I never worried about them because I knew they walked with angels ever since. Now, they grew up with I'm not your suburban housewife, okay? So they grew up with grandparents, dead people in our house, setting the table, leaving a place setting for grandma because she was coming by, and they could see and hear and speak with the spirits and the angels up until they went to grade school, and then that's when it seems to leave. But as they became adults, and I continued to persist in my crazy ways of talking to dead people and going on astral adventures, this is commonplace in our house. This is normal. And the great and my daughter's kids, they've seen spirits. It seems that once it's accepted, it allows it to be. It's that I think it's really critical that you validate a kid's dreams, past life memories, or even experiences. One of my granddaughters got through fourth grade because a guy showed up from Spirit and helped her with her math homework.
Wow.
and she went and got through fourth grade without him. She called him Twitchy because he was always twitching. And I said, well, as long as he has harm none, and and I always told them, the grandkids especially, these are just people without bodies. We just don't really nearly trust everybody. We have to know who they are, what their intentions are. We have to understand why they're here. And if you're not comfortable, you tell them to leave. Just like if you were in a public place and some guy that you never met wants to give you a kiss. No, I'm not comfortable. Leave them alone. It's the same thing, just they don't have bodies. So I
Right.
had to teach them boundaries, teach them how to discern spirits, so that I wouldn't worry about what they were doing. But it's as for the remembering, I don't think they remember like I do because they were so little, but they have an awareness of and a connection to spirit
That's
without the
amazing.
yeah. It's
Love it.
beautiful.
It
It's
is
beautiful
beautiful.
because there's just there's just so much that can go wrong in a heartbeat and not having to worry about them. You know, my daughter works for a trucker, the truck stop, and this just happened the other day. The cops caught a guy from North Carolina who had gone into a convenience store and kidnapped the convenience clerk in the middle of the night, one of those late night short shifts. And it really shook her up because she works 3:30 in the morning. She goes in and starts making breakfast for all these yahoos. And I said, Laura, you're forgetting you walk with angels. You're protected, divinely guided and guarded. Don't give in to fear. And she said she slept better,
Mm.
be reminded.
Yeah, I love
Otherwise,
that power.
otherwise you can't get through this on this planet. You just can't. I don't see how. I don't see how people without that understanding can get by.
Yeah.
It befuddles me because I couldn't do it.
Well, it's amazing that you've taught your kids and your grandchildren those lessons. So you also had that spirit who not only showed you that your kids are playing with angels, but took you to the other side. Do you know who that was?
Yes, yes, that's my other half, Joshua. And Joshua and I shared a lifetime in the late 1800s, and we come back and forth together. And he stays with me. He helps me with his life. Didn't recognize him. I didn't know him at the time, but I found out later.
How
It
did you
was
find out?
just during my meditations and my astral travels. I went to the Akashic Records, and then when I turned around, he took me to the Akashic Records to understand some parts of my life that weren't making sense and how I chose what I chose and had come to terms with what I did and what happened to me. And when I turned around, I recognized him. I didn't, it was like I was clouded. I couldn't see him until I was ready to accept it. And since then, he's never left my side. I can call on him anytime. I walk with him, Jesus, and the Archangel Gabriel. I remember those three before I entered this life, before I chose my parents. We were all three discussing uh, two basic life paths I had to choose from, and how they would always walk with me in this life, whatever I chose. And I had forgotten that. And then I thought it was a dream. When I remembered it, I thought, oh, I had that as a dream, but it was actually an event that happened before my birth, picking my family and
So you
figured out that,
remember picking your family.
yes, yes. Like I said, I had abilities before I became grade school. I had knowledge and understanding. I had I was able to astral travel and be where I wanted to go. I was not limited in my 3-year-old, 4-year-old body. I was much more than my body. I remember that my I became sick with eczema when I was 3, which is a skin condition, and it was debilitating because it covered my head to toe. It wasn't with a patch here and there; it was all over, and it was all very, very sudden. And So that was very irritating. I was trying to figure out why I was telling you that. But I would leave my body because it was so hurtful and uncomfortable. And I knew I wasn't my body. I was me, and then with my body. I knew there was two different things. And I would leave my body and watch things from the ceiling. Most of my childhood, my memories are from the ceiling looking down. Because I didn't want to
Wow.
look at my body. I want no part of this body. I still don't like it too much, but we- we've got a semi understanding now.
So, Jill, you mentioned a term that I don't think everybody watching is familiar with, and that's the Akashic Records. So, will you explain from your vantage point what it is and how that works for us?
The um the non-physical side of life has many vibrational levels, as you might say, and I ride them like I explore them like I'm on an elevator. The lower level energy to the higher level energies, and the Akashic records are on the fourth level of this energy thing, and it's the same level that you go to after you die for learning, for processing, for the life reviews. The Akashic records it's the Akashic, from my understanding, is like a giant university, and there are classes going on and lectures, and it's just a teeming vibration of people coming and going from every walk of life, every time period on the planet. I have had classes in the Parthenon and the Akashic level. I've it's just an amazing place. And the Akashic library is a library, and it's all vibration. You can use physical descriptions to kind of begin to relate to it and understand it, but it's all vibrations, and they coalesce into what seems to be a big grand library full of books. And we each have our own hall of records and our own book of life. They're our vibrational frequency particular. So once you can tune into that, you can tune into your book of life. You can see from lifetimes memories from lifetimes ago, lives to come that you haven't gone to yet. They're like parallel existences. People you can see, you can cross check and cross index it um, by people and see where people have crossed your path along your lifetime. So it's an amazing place, very ornate, very beautiful. You take any library that man has built, and it's just 100 times more uh, opulent and luminescent.
Wow. Well, now you made me curious. You said that that was on the fourth floor. How many levels can you get to in that elevator?
Oh, I can go up as high as I want, but here's how it is. You look at if you look at a diagram of the physical body, and then you look at the astral body out beside that, then there's the mental body, the causal body, spirit. That's your basic outline of the non-physical. But within each of those vibrational bands, there are wavelengths, and you can go to 100 places within each one. It's all by thought. You do it all by thought. You decide what you want to do, and you have spirits and helpers on the other side. They'll help bring you to where you can get to those levels.
Well, this
But
is really even now you've opened up a whole can of worms with me here because you've told me that you've had access through this astral travel to these different levels. The Akashic levels are on the fourth. Will you share a few more levels that you've experienced and explored?
okay, I have not. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to our near-death experience. We have the physical level, which everybody's aware of. The non-physical, the immediate level after that, they kind of correlate to your chakra. So let's say the physical is your root chakra. So your next level up would be your sacral. Shoot, sacral. It is sacral.
Sacral, yes.
All right. So, lost my train of thought. So whatever the level is on the chakra system is what the corresponding non-physical level is. Okay, so I've explored the first 5, 6, 7 easily. There's one beyond. I think it was level 12, 11. This level, everything was geometric shapes. It was spheres and cubes, pyramids, and I was just kind of drifting around, just checking out all these different vibrational frequencies as they performed for me in a shape. Well, as I got close to, like, say, the sphere, within that one geometric shape was a wealth of information. All the correspondences, all the mathematical correspondences, the musical correspondences, all the times that that shape has been used for art or for poetry. That there's just, it was just like, just that shape contained everything that related to that shape on all levels. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I've never heard anybody talk about something like this before.
Well, that's because I'm not your typical suburban mom.
I love it.
It's just, but it's once you've obtained a level, once you've obtained, like, I can go back to that level, that geometric pattern level. I can go back there at any time. And the reason why we're limited, I think, because we're not ready to um, explore these levels. Our minds process information, but it's very limited. Okay, our astral mind is better prepared to comprehend some things, but it would really blow a few circuits if you try to do this and you weren't prepared. You didn't have some self discipline. You hadn't been doing some meditation practices. You weren't open to believing these things exist and are possible to achieve. That's why we don't have more miracles than we have today. People stop believing. They just
Mm,
don't think these things happen.
hmm.
When I was little, I would say I was 3, I was taking a nap, and my grandmother was working as a drill press operator, and I was at home with my mom. Grandpa had the other 2 kids, my siblings, and all of a sudden in my sleep, I remember flying. It looked like a plane flying, and in the back of Grandma's yard was this whole fence row of grapevines. And I remember flying over the grapevines and seeing them praying mantises, seeing the grapes coming to fruition, and coming into the house. Well, Grandma had just got home early from work, and she had drill pressed her thumb and put a hole in her thumb. But she didn't want to upset my siblings, who were even younger than I am. I'm 3, so these guys are 1 and 2. And so she just took off the outer bandage to show them the little bandage and said, "It's okay. Grandma's going to be okay." And I could see through the bandage, through her thumb, I could see straight to the other side of her hand, which woke me up age 3. I woke up screaming, freaking out. And Mom thought it was just a bad dream. And I insisted she call Grandma and make sure she's okay. And sure enough, she found out what I saw, what I experienced was exactly what had just happened, which freaked her out more than her mom piercing her thumb. So when I was in the astral level looking at the geometric shapes, that memory of coming through the astrals to see my grandmother's thumb always connects to me, because it was the same feeling of flying, but more than flying. It's just like going without going. I don't know. It's hard to explain it in our language, but it was that level of all the shapes. I mean, it's like lots of shapes, all the different shapes. I just knew it was profound and powerful. And every time I go there and remember that, I remember flying to Grandma's house and saying, hole in her thumb. I don't know why there's that connection for me, but there is.
Well, so Jill, these shapes that you've seen, these geometric shapes, are there some that we need to be aware of that have more importance to this life than others?
Um, the flower of life and the Merkaba vehicle. The flower of life is in the Chinese and the Asian culture, where they have all the and I mean, what you can do now to start is to take the shape in your meditation and just ask for it to open its wisdom to you. Ask for it to open up to you. So just start with one simple one, a pyramid, a, a cube, a sphere, and just work with that one until you can feel it in your hand. You can taste it, you can smell it, you can hear it, you hear its music, you see its colors, and you just really get to know it. That would be the best way I would recommend to be able to open up the rest of them. But like the Merkaba vehicle is a powerful one because it has more than one shape and they're vibrating in the opposite direction, spinning in opposite directions. The Star of David, that one's the base, a template for that. You just really want to become one with it. Because what happens when you start working with non physical elements like the shapes, colors, musical tones, when you start giving them depth, height, and width and breadth, your physical life pales in comparison, but it takes on new meaning at the same time. You don't see a stop sign the same way.
Hmm.
You any one object and just really go into it, really explore it from the inside out, and ask for its wisdom, and you'll be amazed at what you'll learn. It'll be an individual experience for everybody. It won't be the same thing for everybody, but it'll be similar enough that you'll get what you need from it.
So you said it's changed how you view your life. In what way for you?
I don't walk alone. I don't walk alone. Everything has meaning, everything has a purpose. If I don't understand the meaning or the purpose, then I have to just go back into it until I turn it around some more and figure it out. So it gives me something to chew on, like a dog with a bone. But it's not. It's not the 3D world we live in. It's just so flat. We need the fourth dimension to imbue meaning and purpose, beauty, spirituality into it. That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
So whenever I'm in my life, I don't, and I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers, but I don't tend to get so upset, too upset overly upset too easily. There's not really any reason to sweat the small stuff. It's all going to work out, and you can live in peace with yourself and the experiences of your life better when you just accept there's a bigger picture
Mm,
all going on. It's
yeah.
not just about me. I mean, there was some pretty bad things happened to Jill in the physical that I agreed to before I got here. I take responsibility for putting myself in harm's way, not for what happened because I that was in somebody else's hands, but I came to peace with it. I healed myself, my physical and my mental and my emotional self by becoming to peace with it, by just understanding the bigger picture. The other person's pain that got them to where they did what they did and being able to live with it in a way that I can forgive, not condone, but just say it happened to the physical, didn't happen to me. I am beyond the physical, and if you and what by allowing certain events to take place that by any standard is a horrible thing to have happened to somebody, by allowing them to take place and putting myself in harm's way, I stopped the cycle of abuse many times. I know I have been instrumental in stopping people, the perpetuation of a generational life cycles, where things just get passed down without thinking about it. And I've put an end to it in my family and a few more. And I'm at peace with that because it's just my physical form, which is not who I am. It's just an instrument. So this instrument's been dinged up a few times. We're still we're still trucking. We're gonna keep trucking until we're done, you know. But I don't have to live with anger, resentment, frustration, fear, pain, and anguish. That's choices I don't make. I don't make those choices.
Wow, Jill, that's commendable that you've come that way and you have that recognition. Can we go back to Jesus in the janitor's closet?
You like that?
I love that for lots of reasons. But one of the things I always ask somebody when they've had an encounter with Yeshua, Jesus, whatever name you want to put to him, is first of all, what did he physically look like to you that you remember?
He didn't look much different from the angels in the bedroom. But he was bigger than life. His whole hand, from the tip of his middle finger to the base of his hand, covered my back. He was larger than life. He was not like 6'2". He was huge. But it's his energy field. I'm sorry. It's his
Bless you.
energy field, his presence. He was in a white robe. He had darker, sandy hair and the beard like you expect to see, which may be why I saw him as I saw him. Just like I didn't recognize Joshua. For the longest time, I didn't know that was who he was, our connection, until I was able to see. So I think my description of Jesus is what you would typically describe him as, what I
Okay.
expected to see.
And what did you feel from him?
Oh, love, nothing but love. I mean, it was just pure acceptance and joy. He knew more than he was saying, and he could do better than he did. But I was in power. Even at my weakest moment, I was in power. And I had to ask him for what I wanted. He could have healed me without asking me a question. But I had to go through the process of asking the wrong question, getting the right answer, and then having to realize I could have done better.
Hmm.
So that's true love. Parents, we want to make our kids' lives easier and better than our life. But that's not necessarily the best way. You learn by mistakes. You learn by falling down and getting up over and over and over. And he let me fall because he loves me enough. And I think that was probably one of the most profound reasons that I that one of the most powerful and profound lessons I took away from this whole experience. Answers are there. People are waiting for us to ask for what we want, but they're not going to override our own free will. They're not going to tell us what's going to be good for us. We have to grow up, take responsibility, and figure this out on our own. We have help, but we're not going to have someone do it for us, right?
Right.
Um, like that poem that he carries us over the rough edges. No, I disagree. He'll hold our hand in case we stumble and help us back on our feet, but he's not going to carry us. We have to do the work. We have to do our own work. We have to understand our responsibility and our empowerment comes from that.
So it's not, the work isn't about anything other than the ability for us to understand.
Right. Understand. Acceptance is understanding. And the understanding comes from putting it in its bigger picture.
Mm.
Okay. So um, the bigger picture is everybody else that's involved. Now, I've been in the hospital many times since then for many things. I've had numerous things go haywire with this crazy body. But I learned over time that whatever's happening to me is irrelevant. And I'm talking strokes, heart attack, um, you name it, it's happened to me. But when I come in contact with people in the hospital, the staff, the technicians, it has an effect on them. My how I handle my illness, because when I go to the hospital, I'm not going to get well. I have work to do, and then so there's a technician, an X-ray technician, trying to X-ray me for kidney stones, and she was all upset, and I knew why. I understood what she was going through without her telling me. I knew it, and I told her your son will call you today, and he'll be home in a couple days. And she said, "Are you sure?" I said, "I'm positive. You'll get a call from him tonight." Well, she made a beeline to my room the next day to tell me he called and he was going to be home in a couple of days. But me telling her that with having no reason to know any of this gave her a calmness that she didn't have. And I
It's
said,
so beautiful.
well, this happens so many times. I'd have a line outside my door. I don't get any rest in the hospital. I'd rather not go. It's just hard work. There's a lot of dead people and a lot of living people who are hurting, and they all need somebody. So by taking myself out of the equation and letting people deal with my physical form, I'm not my body, and I have work to do. You know
So,
what I'm
Jill, if
saying?
you're not your physical form, in your spirit form, what have you seen of your spirit form that you can share with us that you can use human words to describe about what your soul is?
It's light, pure light, and my thoughts create uh, a form that we use in the physical and a non and a mirror image in the astrals. But it's just a column of light. The further I go in the astrals, the less form I have, and the more light I become. And I'm just trying to be the best light I can all the way down here to this lower level. It's just pure light. And that light is love and joy and peace. And that's all I want. Nothing else matters to me. Just to be the best beacon of light I can. The people, they need hope, they need comfort, and they need hope. And if I can step out of my physical form and let my spirit self connect with their guides and teachers and bring them a message of comfort, of hope, of encouragement, then that's what my job is on this planet. To step aside and let spirit work through me. And I have done that so many times.
Well,
And it's such
wasn't that Jesus's main message anyway? Love your neighbors like yourself.
yes, yes. Get out of your way and love your neighbor. And that means whatever it takes. Whatever it takes in the moment to and whenever spirit's involved and I'm being guided by spirit messages, which I can do at will. But I still have a hard time with strangers because you're worried about what people are going to think. But I've been getting over that for 50 years. Because you just see some guy in the grocery store line ahead of you with a case of beer, a couple Slim Jims, and an Inquirer magazine. You don't normally think to talk to that person, you know? But all of a sudden, I feel like I have to give him a message.
Mm.
And sometimes, not often, they'll have me place my hand on someone. Not often. But when they do that, I know it's important. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I gave him a message. I don't remember the message, but I gave him a message. He looked at me with big teary eyes and I said, "Bless you," and then sent him on his way. Well, a year later, he found me at the uh, town concert where we lived. He came running after me. Now, this is a big, burly biker dude. And I'm just 5'3". I'm not that big. And I had grandkids with me. And I don't recognize him. I don't remember him. I go through a lot of these situations. I don't remember, have a clue what I've done, but I really don't. And he came up to me and grabbed me, big bear hug. It's gave me half a heart attack. And he hugged me and he was crying and thanking me because he was the guy in the line at the store. And he reminded me, and I remembered then where I'd seen him. And he was thanking me because he was the whole country song lost his job, his girlfriend, his truck, and his dog all in one afternoon. And he was
Sounds like a
done.
bad country song.
It does, don't it? And he was done. He was going home to commit suicide. He was going home.
Wow.
Yeah. But what I did and said and trusting in spirit to move through me stopped that and turned his life around. Everything took a different turn. So it's just very profound. When you try to do, when you just want to let your little bitty light shine, it might not be much more than a flicker, but it's a light. It's
Hmm. I'm going to ask you one last question because you touched on something that I feel like a lot of people watching would want to know why you feel this way. And you said pain is not, pain is your friend and not your enemy.
yes. Without pain, we don't know where we've screwed up. Okay, everything physically wrong with our physical body doesn't just originate from the physical body. It starts in the astral blueprint, and that's your thoughts and your emotions. So you can connect more on your thoughts and emotions and how they get screwed up and cause blockages in our physical form by studying your chakras, understanding how your chakra energy translates the spirit into the physical. Also, a book I highly recommend, Louise L. Hay. You can hear
Mm.
the life. I have gone through so many crazy things with this body, but I kept remembering my thoughts create my reality. So whatever is wrong with my body is going to let me know by pain that I've
Say
got.
Louise Hay's book again.
You can heal your body.
You can heal your body. Okay, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure. Thank
yeah.
you.
You can look that up. That she gives emotion blockages, and then she gives you the physical ailment that comes from it. Let's say, like, okay, let's say with my kidney stones and all the coma, kidney infections I've had. Um, Basically, that comes down to being pissed off. That's what it really comes down to. I had to heal that anger, and once I got that healed, I haven't had a kidney stone in years.
Interesting.
Right. The other thing, um, shoot, my thought left me. The eczema was to put a wall between me and the world around me. I didn't feel safe. I had cervical cancer from some of the abuse I had suffered as a small child, feeling unsafe and angry. And I took care of that in my 20s. That's not come back. I'm just saying it's all connected. And so we need the pain to say, hey, something's not right in this connection between spirit and physical. So pain is our friend. And we don't welcome all of our friends in our house every day. But when they show up, we welcome them and we say, okay, what do I need to know? What do I need to do different? What am I missing? What's the bigger picture? And then you go and travel back to those answers. You travel back to those answers and you find your healing, permanent healing. And
Wow.
I'm not saying I don't use doctors. Lord knows I've had doctors. They've tried to pronounce me dead a couple of times. It didn't work. But they do they do the best they can with what they have to work with. It's just taking control and responsibility for everything, not being a victim, not feeling like a victim, and not identifying with the illness or the pain, using it for an excuse to be a pain. You want to say to the pain, thank you. I'll look into that situation right now, and you deal with it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by it's our friend.
Okay. That's so great. I think you've just helped so many people who are watching. I know that they tune in to hear about your near-death experience, but I think the better part of these stories are the wisdom that you have gathered and brought back with you and the things that you have understood because your perspective is different. So,
Yeah.
Jill, I would think that the people that are watching today, there are going to be a lot of people who want to contact you. Are you open to that? And if so, how can people connect with you?
My email address, and yes,
Okay.
I'm open to that.
Okay.
Um, my email is jamesjill170 @gmail. That's the best way to reach me.
Okay.
Uh, I'll be happy to answer any questions or anything that makes it better. I just want people not to feel helpless and hopeless. There's always an answer, there's always a reason, but there's always hope, and it's hard. Because of my experience on the other side and my near death experiences here, um, people gravitated toward me, and I started a Facebook page called On Death and Dying.
Mm,
People facing to their last days, or help people who are with people who are facing their last days, to open up the perspective that death isn't our enemy either.
yeah,
Death is just a door,
that's the
and
door.
you just change your perspective. You change how you see it. And grief isn't our enemy; it's a friend too. It's how we connect and stay connected to our loved ones. It doesn't have to be debilitating. So if you wanted to join that group, it's On Death and Dying. It's a Facebook group,
Okay. We'll
and
put
this
that information in the show notes for everybody. It's so funny. My life is full of signs and synchronicities. And when I do these interviews, I'm running a little time counter on my phone because I make notes for the editing so that it makes my life easier when I go back. And when I
right.
asked you the question about pain being your friend and not your enemy, I glanced down and my phone was at 4 and 44 seconds. So I
Oh,
think
cool.
I think that that was the universe saying, hey, make sure we point out how important that question and answer was. So maybe everybody wants to rewind a little bit and go back and listen to that again. So
Wow. That is important. Four is a very stable number. There's four fours.
four
And six
fours.
and four fours is 16, which reduces down to seven, which is total completion. So if that gives
Oh,
anybody hope and comfort, to take a different approach to their pain. And I know
yeah.
I've been in a lot of pain. I understand pain, and I know it's not fun. And sometimes you just want the pain to end, but you're not going to get through the pain until you get to the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Jill, this has been such a cool conversation. I learned some things that I have never heard before. I love the wisdom that you share it, and I love your sense of humor. You are so witty, and this has just been a delight to talk to you
Um,
today.
Good. I've enjoyed it.
Me too. You really made my day. It was great to connect with you. And I just want to thank you so much for what you are doing to not only raise your family and raise kids and grandchildren that are awake, but what you're doing by sharing this story is helping to raise the collective consciousness energy, which is so needed in this world right now.
It is needed. It is, and it's high time.
High time. It's
High
time.
time.
Now's the time. Now's the time. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Next up, check out this playlist of other NDE interviews. Please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel to grow so I can bring you more content. Thank you for watching. I'm so glad you're here.